Hello guys, so here is a new video. Today I'm talking about my webcomic actually. I decided to make a new cover for my webcomic since, when you start a comic, your art usually improves really fast. So at some point you feel the need to redraw things, and you should not do that because you will never end your comic if you do that. But when it's just a cover, you can make another one. So, I wanted to talk about my characters, a thing that I've never done on this channel yet. So yeah, I really love them. I could talk about them all day, so you're in for a ride. So the one I just drew is named. Oh man, I can't tell you his name. Well, if you follow me on other social media, you probably already know. But his name is kind of a it's almost a joke, his name. So I don't want to ruin the joke for you if you read the comic. It's kind of an absurd name in many ways. But I was very attached to it because this is not the first time I write this story. I started to write it when I was 16. Then I wrote another version of it when I was 18, 19, and then a final version. Actually, there were 4 versions more or less, but I don't remember all of them. But I'm sure of the final version when I was 21. I was in university and I was writing like crazy. So you must know that I'm more of a writer than a comic artist. Even though I used to draw comics when I was 14, 15, then sporadically when I was 17, 18, and then I resumed again for real when I was 20 or 21, and I never stopped. So now I'm 24. And when I resumed, I had forgotten everything I knew about art. I never took art classes. I learned everything on my own. So yeah, it's been heavy, but at the same time a great source of joy for me. A mixture. Art sometimes is like that. You would like to do things that you can't do yet, but slowly you will get there, and I still have a lot to learn, but we are here to talk about my characters, not about me. I just wanted to give you some context. So, to this story. It's not the first time I write it. That's the important thing. So I had to adapt lots of things. I had to change lots of things. When you write for a comic, it's not like writing a novel. You don't have all the time in the world, you know. Making comics takes years, and because of that, you need to be you need to make your story smaller in any way you can. And since my original story was kind of a big story, I had to change many things. I had to condense characters. For example, one of the characters I've drawn here, the girl on the left, her name is Osmodia. She's one of my favorite characters. She is also one of the 3 protagonists that you see here. She actually is I created her from 2 characters of the original story. I kind of condensed the functions those characters had in the story, and I made a single character, and that helped me a lot. Like I was stuck with the story, and putting those 2 characters together helped me so much. But so the guy that I'm coloring now is the immortal. He's an immortal. Immortals are kind of a very ancient species that lives in the world I made up in my head. Man, they originally were based on angels, and I had made lots of research about angels, kind of all the names, the meanings, and all that stuff. But they were also heavily inspired by Greek gods on many things. So it wasn't, I wasn't thinking exclusively about angels when I created them. And also, they looked a lot more alien than they do now in the story. Immortals kind of had elongated skulls in the original story. I was probably influenced by that Indiana Jones movie that came out years and years ago, the Crystal Skulls, something like that. I was influenced by the design of the skulls because I loved them, and so I had taken that into account when making the immortal characters. So the character in the middle, our immortal as a character, he's a very soft person. He's very kind, but he also has some spice to him. He can be impulsive. His power is lightning, so his power consists in very short and powerful outbursts of energy, and therefore his character, his personality also reflects that. He's very kind, very open to discussion, things like that. He doesn't actually like to fight, but when you push him too much, he's the kind of person that explodes, and that's not very good, even though it takes a lot for him to actually do that. So he's a very kind character, and he loves food, which is very unusual for an immortal because they don't eat, basically. He mixes with the commoners, so he's very curious. He loves everything. It's a thing that I share with him. I like everything. I like everything from literature to science to astronomy. I'm interested in everything. That's always been one of my problems. So because if you're interested in everything, it's hard to choose what you're going to do with your life. I did choose in the end, but at the same time, it's kind of a Peter Pan thing. When you're a kid, you have full potential, right? You can do whatever you want, but at the same time, when you become an adult, you have to make choices and you have to become something. So I think he struggles with that. He also is the main character of the story, even though the characters you see here are all protagonists on their own, and they have kind of very detailed stories behind them. The immortal on the front is the one who has the most complex story. Not because he's more important than the others, but because he's the one who undergoes kind of the most complete character arc between them, among them. And they all have a character arc, but he has more of a formation character arc, that's the difference. He changes a lot. If I go on and talk about the others, the character on the left is Bonifax. I can tell you his name. I took his name from an Italian pope called Bonifacius, I think the 8th. I'm a nerd. I was very interested in the Divine Comedy. I've always been. I love it. It's an amazing epic. We could call it it's not an epic, okay, but it's an amazing poem, let's say that. And Bonifacius VIII is a pope that Dante, the author of the Divine Comedy, hated because he was said to basically he replaced another pope that kind of abdicated, and basically he was very materialistic, and he was not a good person, an overall good person. If you see this history of the church in those years, it's horrifying. And Bonifacius VIII was kind of a bad person. So actually, though, I took the name because it sounded cool. This is the law of cool, so that's why. And also because it kind of has a dark history. I also changed the name a little bit, Bonifax instead of Bonifacius. In Italian it would be Bonifacio. So yeah. Bonifax, I can tell you more about him than I can tell you about the other protagonist I spoke about before. Bonifax is the one who starts the story. In a way, he doesn't know the other characters, so he's a good excuse to talk about them. Like, he discovers them, he meets them, he discovers more about them, he gets involved in their story, especially in his immortal frenemy story. Bonifax is he has two emotions, either smugness or he's triggered. It's two. He's very proud. He seems to be very cold, and he's very snarky. He has a very sharp sense of humor. He will clown on everyone. But he actually has a big heart, just that he would never admit it. He's the kind of character, I know. He's edgy, My Chemical Romance. But I really love him. He's one of the best characters in my opinion. But he's not. I wouldn't actually call him edgy. It's kind of played for laughs sometimes. Because even though this story indeed has angst and all that stuff, it's also very comedic. I love absurd comedy and all that stuff, so there's a bunch of that as well. So usually every time Bonifax wants to pull he wants to appear as cooler than life, like cooler than everyone, he kind of gets wrecked immediately. So, but yeah, he's a very complex character. He has a lot in his past. Unlike his frenemy, better to call him frenemy. His character arc has already happened in a way. He is at his lowest point at the beginning of the story, and the main character storyline and Bonifax's storyline have kind of opposed directions. So if Bonifax can only go up from where he is at the beginning of the story, our immortal here can only go down and and maybe come up again. That's kind of the direction I have for them, and they have a very peculiar dynamic. So Bonifax is very old. He's experienced, even too much. He has too much experience. He has very bad things in his past. And our immortal here may appear to be naive and all the stuff, less experienced for sure, but at the same time his past is not as rosy as Bonifax thinks it is. So they actually have more in common than Bonifax knows at the beginning of the story, and they will discover that slowly, and they will become closer to each other, and I want to say more about their dynamic, but this is it. Also, if I had to represent their dynamic with one song, it would be I Can Decide Whether You Should Live or Die by who wrote this? Sisters or something like that. But that's it. So they really love each other, but they also would kill each other if they had a chance. That's their dynamic. And then there is the girl that is on the left. And her name, I can tell you her name. Her name is Osmodia. I took this name from Asmodeus, the demon of lust. She kind of, in the original story, I wrote when I was 16. Actually, she wasn't a character there yet, but she appeared in later versions of the story. She was a succubus. Her name was back then was Valerie, and now it is Asmodia because of I was looking for a different name that included both like both characters she was based upon, like because I told you before that she's kind of two characters condensed together, and she works so much better now because of it. um so yeah, if Bonifax is kind of cold and unfeeling, at least on the surface, she's very warm, she's very soft. As you can see, she has the softest design between them, even though she has the horns, she has spikes in her design too. She's very soft, and she's a pleasure to draw because I just love to draw her round little face. And she has lots of hearts in her design, it's her motif. She also has a necklace with a heart, a broken heart on it. And I didn't draw it here because I also forgot. Yes, forgetty. I forgot, but she has this heart design everywhere. She has it on her necklace, she has it on her clothing, on her chest, she has it on her tail. So yeah, and there is another character in my story who has a heart theme. I can't tell you because it would be a spoiler because you would understand lots of things, but it's very easy to know to understand what I'm talking about. The moment you see that character, you will understand lots of things about Osmodia, so I can tell you. But she has peculiar links, you could say, with certain people. It's hard to talk about a character without being able to say their name. It's driving me insane, but I have to. As I told you, Asmodia is very soft. She is kind. She loves food. Why am I projecting this on my characters? They all love to eat, man. And if she was a food, she were food, she would be strawberry tart, something like that. She's the most level-headed character among them, so she will be kind of the conduit between Bonifax and their immortal friend, because they have such opposing views and on everything. And immortals and demons, because Bonifax is a demon, have always been hunting each other, killing each other. So it's hard for people like this to find a common ground, but they will in a way. And Asmodia will play a great part in this. So what I'm drawing behind is the source, who gives the title to this comic actually. And I don't know how much I've been able to say, but I hope this interests you in the comic and that you will check it out. I've put a lot of this, I put a lot into this story, and I really love it, and I have a lot of fun drawing it. And if you, it's always, writing for me and drawing has always been a great source of comfort. And if my characters or my story can make you happy even for a little bit, or make you less sad, or be a place where you can go and just have fun, that's the best thing I could ever do.